Good morning, students. In this operating system subject, today we will discuss memory management. And in the memory management, which topics we are going to cover today? That is the contiguous allocation, segmentation, swapping, and paging. So let's start with contiguous allocation. Main memory must support both OS and user processes. Limited resources must allocate efficiently. It is the duty of the OS that we are having the limited resources, but it must allocate efficiently. Contiguous allocation is one early method. What happens in that? Main memory usually into two partitions. One is called resident operating system, usually held in low memory with interrupt vector, and user processes then held in high memory. Each process contained in single contiguous section of memory. Relocation registers used to protect user processes from each other and from changing operating system code and data. Base register contains value of the smallest physical address. As we have seen earlier when we have discussed, the limit register and the base register. So base register contains the value of the smallest physical address. As we have seen that the CPU is used to generate the logical address, and when we are adding the logical address to this base register, then we are getting the physical address of that. So limit register contains range of logical addresses. Each logical address must be less than the limit register. That we have also discussed earlier also, that suppose CPU generated some logical address, and that logical address should be less than or equal to the limit register. Then base register plus this logical address, when we are adding these two things, then we are getting the MMU maps logical address dynamically. MMU maps logical address dynamically can then allow actions such as kernel code being transient and kernel changing site. Okay. So in this contiguous allocation, the first thing, the memory are allocated in the continuous mode. The second, we will see the two register. One is called the base register and the limit register. See here, CPU. Here we can see that CPU is generate the logical address, and there are two registers. One is called the limit register and another is called the base register, or here we can say it is called the relocation register. So when the address is generated by the CPU, that is the logical address. If it is less than the limit register, then only, if it is less than, then it is add to the relocation register, and we are able to get the physical address of the main memory or the memory. But if the logical address generated by the CPU, if it is the greater than the limit register, then a trap is generated. In that case, no physical address can be generated, because a trap, or you can say a addressing error, can be generated in that case. So this thing you should remember, that the logical address value should be less than the limit register. Let's say the logical address generated by the CPU is 50, and the value of the limit register is, it should be, logical address should be less than. If the value of the limit register is 51, a trap is generated. If it is less than 50, then this address can be added to the relocation register, and the particular physical address can be obtained. Now we will see here in this figure also a multiple partition allocation. You can see in this figure also, First of all, we will see multiple partition allocation. So degree of multi-programming limited by number of partitions. Variable partitions, size of efficiency, size of a given process needs. Here we can see that size, there is a different size, process 2 is having some size, process 5 is having some size, process 8 is having some big size like this. So these you can see the variable partitions are there. Variable partition size of for efficiency, whole means a block of available memory which can hold some processes which holes of various size are scattered throughout memory. When a process arrives, it is allocated memory from a whole large enough to accommodate it. Okay. Whenever a new process arrives, it allocates memory from a whole large enough to accommodate it. Process exiting frees its partition, adjacent free partition combined. Operating system maintains information about the number one is allocated partition. Here we can see the process 5, 8, 2, these are the allocated partitions. Free partition, when we receive this blue portion is free. So this is the free partition. Or in this figure, third figure, you can see process 5, process 9, process 2 are the allocated partitions, and this one is remaining. Again, we can see in the next figure that process 5, process 9, process 10, and process 2 are allocated. However, there is a one space or one hole for the free partitions. Dynamic storage allocation. If a hole is there or some free memory available, so how to satisfy a request of size n from a list of free holes? A list of free holes, I mean to say a free holes memory is there when a new process is coming. So how the request of this should be granted? Actually, there are three cases. One is called the first fit, second is best fit, and third one is the worst fit. What is the first fit allocation policy? The first fit allocation policy is first fit allocate the first hole that is big enough. Okay, suppose a process is coming which is of you can say 20 bytes, so that is allocate a big enough size for this. Best fit allocate the smallest hole that is big enough, must search entire list unless ordered by size. It produces the smallest leftover hole. So best fit is a good policy, and the third one is the worst fit allocation policy. In worst fit, allocate the largest hole, must also search entire list. It produces the largest leftover hole. It's not a good policy. So in this first fit, best fit, and worst fit, best fit is a good policy. However, there somewhere first fit allocation policy is also adopted. First fit and worst fit better than worst fit in terms of speed and storage utilization. Now we will see fragmentation, the external fragmentation. When we are assigning this sort of memory, so total memory space exists to satisfy a request, but it is not contiguous. Sometimes it may be the case that mean to say on the discontinuous mode you are having such much of memory to satisfy the request, but the memory is not in contiguous fashion. So in that case, you can say it is the external fragmentation. Internal fragmentation is allocated memory may be slighter, larger than requested memory. So this size difference in is memory internal to a partition but not being used. First fit analysis reveals that given n block allocated 0.5 n block lost to fragmentation. 1/3 may be usable, 50% rule will be applied. So to reduce external fragmentation, a compaction policy will be adopted. So shuffle memory content to place all three memory together in one large hole. Mean to say, whatever the memory is, situated in different places, try to place all the free spaces in one place so that a big hole can be created so that a large process or large block can be accommodated. So compaction is possible only if location is dynamic. If relocation is static, it is not possible and is done at execution time. So two things. Compaction can be done. In the compaction, we are collecting all the free spaces and putting in one place, and compaction is possible only when the relocation is dynamic. Input output problem, latch job in memory while it is involved in input output. Do input output only into OS buffers. Now consider that backing store has some fragmentation. Now moving to the next term, that is the segmentation. Memory management scheme that supports user view of memory. Okay. So what happens when we are writing a suppose C program? So we are writing a C program. It is having some main program, some procedure, function, method, or when we are writing some C++ or object-based program, so it could have main program, procedure, function, method, object, local variables, global variables, common block, stack may be used, arrays may be used. So this may, this sort of segment you can say is a logical unit or a user's perspective view of seeing a program. So this is the user's view of program. We are saying uh, different segments are there. There could be some subroutine which may which could be of different size. Stack may be of different size. Symbol table may be of different size. Suppose we are using some function to calculate the square root, so that could be of different type. Main program could be of different type. So these are, from the user's point of view, these are actually different segments. So here we are seeing the segments could be of variable length. They are not of fixed size. The segment is of variable length. Logical view of segmentation. Suppose the previous one, which we have seen, the segment, subroutine, stack, symbol, table, main program, square root, etc. Here we have represented this by, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is all having different segmentation and they are having different size also. So we have put this into the physical memory. So we have placed 1 here, 4 here, 2 here, 3 here. But you can see in this case, these 4 segments is having some different length. 1 is having different length, 2 is having different, 3 having different, and 4 is having different length. So in the middle, we are also able to see the some free spaces. So we are able to see these 3 spaces, but suppose a process is come which is not of a process came which is of the size is combining these 3, but since they are not contiguous, it will not be allocated. Now again, segmentation architecture. Logical address actually consists of a 2 tuple. 2 things are there. One is called the segment number and another is the offset. So there is a segment table which maps 2-dimensional physical addresses. Each table entry has number 1, base register or base that contains the starting physical address where the segment resides in memory. Another is the limit register which specifies the length of the segment. Segment table base register, STBR, segment table base register, points to the segment table's location in the memory, and one is the segment table uh, list register, which segment used by a program. So if the segment number S is legal, if small s is less than STLR. So in the protection mode, what is, with each entry in segment table associate validation bit equals to 0, that is illegal segment, and read write executed privileges. Protection bits associated with segments, code sharing occurs at segment level. Since segments vary in length, memory allocation is a dynamic storage allocation problem. A segmentation example is shown in the following diagram. Let's see. Hardware supported for relocation and limit register. We have discussed this thing also earlier also, that CPU generated a logical address. Here this limit register and relocation register there. If the address generated is less than the limit register, then only we can add this value to the relocation register and the particular physical address we will get. Otherwise, address trap is generated. In the segmentation hardware, we will able to see that a segment table will be there. In this CPU generated the address which is having the some address plus offset part is there. Okay. So in this we have seen this thing. Just yes, segment number and offset. So here. Yes, the CPU generated is the segment number and the offset. So here this segment number, a segment table will be there. In this segment table, two things, limit and base value will be there. In the segment table, this D offset value will be seen with this limit register, and if it is less than, offset value is less than the limit register, then only this offset value will be add to the base register and the particular physical address will be generated. If the offset value is greater than the limit register, then the address swap is generated. Okay. So in this way, this segment table is maintaining and all the physical address can be generated. Now the next term is swapping. What do you mean by swapping? A process can be swapped temporarily out of memory to a backing store and then brought back into memory of continued execution. See, the some processes, from memory is swapped out from main memory to the disk and from disk to the main memory. When it is swapping out from main memory to the disk, it is called swap out. And when it is coming from disk to the main memory, it is called swap in. So the total physical memory space of processes can exceed physical memory. Backing stores, fast disk large enough to accommodate copies of all memory images for all users must provide direct access to these memory images. Roll out, roll in. Swapping variant used for priority based scheduling algorithm. Lower priority process is swapped out so higher priority processes can be loaded and executed. The processes which is having the lower priority, they are swapped out to the main memory and kept to the disk. And the higher priority processes can be rolled in, or you can say the swap into the main memory. Major part of swap time is transfer time. Just swap a process from main memory to the disk to the main memory. Say it will take a large time. Total transfer time is directly proportional to the amount of memory swapped. So the total transfer time is directly proportional to the amount of memory swapped. System maintains a ready queue of ready to run processes which have memory images on disk. Here is we can see dramatically that pictorially how we can see that 1 and 2. So a process P1 is having some input output work, or it is some, you can say, the low priority process. So this process is swept out from main memory to the disk, and a process P2 which is having some higher priority, so it is swept in to backing store or to the disk to the main memory to the user space. So this is called swapping. From here to from memory, we are swapping memory from main memory to the disk to the main memory. Now there one another terminology, that is the context switch time. So if next process to be put on CPU is not in memory, need to swap out a process and swap in target process. Context switch time can then be very high. 100 MB process swapping to hard disk with transfer rate of 50 MB per second. So the swap out time will be 2000 milliseconds plus swap in of same size process. So total context switch swapping component time of 4000 milliseconds. That is 4 seconds. So we can reduce size of memory swapped by knowing how much memory really being used. System can do this task with the help of the two functions. One is called the request memory and another is called the release memory. Other constraints as well on swapping are pending input output, can't swap out as input output would occur to wrong process, or always transfer input output to kernel space then to input output device, known as double buffering. It also adds overhead to the system. Standard swapping not used in modern operating system, but modified versions are used. Swap only when free memory extremely low. Okay, we should only swap only when free memory extremely low. Otherwise, we will also having this time in context switching. So it will be a very time consuming also. Now we will discuss a very important topic, that is paging. Physical address space of a process can be non-contiguous. Process is allocated physical memory whenever the latter is available. So paging actually avoids external fragmentation. It is also avoid problem of varying size memory chunks. It divides physical memory into fixed size block called frames. Whatever the memory is there, it is divided into the fixed size blocks called frames. And one more thing, the size of the memory is a power of 2. Fine. So whatever the memory will be there, it is the power of 2. It will divide logical memory into blocks of the same size called pages. So when we will divide the logical memory into the block of the same size called pages, they are actually the paging. Page size and frame size are equal. This thing we should note, that frame size and the page size are equal. There is one mechanism which will keep track of all frames. To run a program of size n pages, need to find n free frames and load programs. There is we'll set up a page table to translate logical to physical address. Page table actually contains the frames. With the help of these, physical address can be get. Backing store likewise split into pages, still have internal fragmentation. So external fragmentation can be solved with the help of the paging, but internal fragmentation still exists there. Now this is the address translation scheme. As we have seen earlier, the address generated by the CPU is divided into two parts. One is the page number and another is the page offset. Page number used as an index into a page table which contains base address of each page in physical memory. Page offset is combined with base address to define the physical memory address that is sent to the memory. Here you can see a page number is represented by P and page offset by D. This is actually a M-bit number. Okay, so this is a P and D. It's a M-bit number. Let's say this M-bit number or its size is M-bit is 4096. So if it is 4096, how many bits are needed to represent the 4096? We actually represent 4096 into the 2 to the power of n. So when we will represent 4096 into the 2 to the power of n, it will be 2 to the power 12. It means the size of this P and D will be 12. And if the page size, let's say if the page size is 4, then it is of 12 bits and page size is of 4 bits. So page number would be of 8 bits. So it will be m minus n. It will be 12 minus 4, that is 8. And if it is the size of the page is 4, or n will be the page size. So we can represent this like, and this is called address translation scheme. For a given logical address space, 2 to the power m and page size would be 2 to the power n. So the total logical address space would be 2 to the power of m. Here we have given the case, suppose m value is 12. So the total address space will be 2 to the power of 12, that is 4096. And the page size would be 2 to the power n, that is the 2 to the power 4, that is the 16. So this address translation scheme is used in paging. This is again a pictorial notation. Here we can say a hardware that is used, that is the page table. CPU generated the logical address, which is the page number and the page offset. Page offset is represented by the D. So this page number, or this page number, here we are using the page table. This page table contains the corresponding frames of this page number. So if the frame, if this is F is the frame number, here this F, if this generated, this is the page number, on this particular page number, this particular frame is there, and that frame, this D offset will be the same offset value will be added to this frame, and then we would able to get the physical address of the main memory. So this is the paging hardware we are using with this frame number or the actual physical address we are able to get. So this is the paging. Here another paging model of logical and physical memory. Let this logical memory generate the 4 pages, page 0, page 1, page 2 and page 3. And the extreme left we are able to see this thing. And the page table, actually page table in the 0, 1, 2, 3 are the page number, and the value that is 1, 4, 3, 7, these are the frame number. So on the page 0, frame 1 is located on the page 0. So here on the right one you can say the page 0 is located on the frame 1, and the frame 4 is located on the page frame 4 is located on the page 1, and the frame 3 on the page 2, and the frame 7 at the page 3. So this is the pictorial representation of the, how the frames or the page can be represented. We will also later on I will discuss 1 or 2 exam numerical problem in that, but now I will stop here. In the next we will discuss the virtual memory, okay, and in the next topic we will discuss virtual memory. Thank you.